Hey guys, welcome to day 2 of 11.1 notes. Remember that yesterday we talked about mean, median, and mode. We also introduced that word called outlier, the one that is different than all the other ones. Maybe it's too small, maybe it's too big. Okay, today we're going to talk about range, which is the difference of the greatest value and the least value. So remember that difference means we are going to do some subtraction. Okay, so we are going to subtract the smallest number from the biggest number, and that will give us our range. So example number 1 says, 2 reality cooking shows select 12 contestants each. The age of the contestants are shown below. Find the range of the ages for each show. Compare your results. So for show A, we have 12 different ages listed there, and the first thing that my notes are alluding me to do is to put them in order. So I'm going to start by putting all of these numbers in order. And remember, I'm going to cross them off as I go so that I know and I make sure that I have all of them. So I'm going to start with a 19, then I have a 20, I have another 20, then I have 21, 22, 25, 27, looks like I have that twice, so I'm going to write it twice. 29 I have twice, and then 30 and 31. Okay, so now that I have all of those listed, remember range tells me that I'm going to take my biggest number and my smallest number and I'm going to subtract. So I've got 31 minus 19, which gives me 12. So my range is 12. Okay, for show B, I'm going to do the same thing. Remember, this will come in handy later, is to put them in order. So I'm going to go ahead and put these contestants in order as well, starting with my youngest, that's 19. And then I'm going to have a 20-year-old, 21-year-old. These are all contestants on their cooking show. I see 22 twice, so we have 2 of those. Then I have a 24-year-old. 25 I have twice, 27 twice, and then 32 and a 48-year-old. Okay, so now these are all in order as well. I double checked that I had them all. I'm going to take that biggest number and that smallest number and I'm going to subtract them to get my range. So 48 minus 19 gives me 29. Okay, so here's my range for that one. Okay, then at the bottom it says, how do the ranges compare? So my ranges, I'm looking at those 2 numbers that I circled. Show B has a higher range than show A. Okay, so it has a bigger range of ages than show A. So that's how those 2 compare. Okay, we're going to keep with our cooking show contestants, and now we're going to find the mean, median, and mode for each show. So I'm going to start off by doing all of my data for show A, and then I will find everything for show B. So for show A, I want to find my mean first. Remember, mean, we are adding up all of our numbers, so I'm going to go back to that first slide. I'm going to add up all of those numbers together. And when I do that, I should get 300. Remember, there were 12 contestants per show, so I'm going to divide by 12, and I get 25 for my mean. Okay, then I'm going to find my median. Remember why I said this was going to be nice to have later. We put them in order already, so when I go back to that first one, I'm going to start marking those off on the left and on the right until I find the middle of my data. Okay, so it looks like right here I have somewhere in between 25 and 27. So what number is between 25 and 27? So good, I'm going to have a 26 there. Remember, you can always add those 2 numbers together and then divide that by 2. You're going to figure out what that is. Okay, and that will also get you your 26 for your median. Okay, last thing that we have is our mode. So our mode is the one that occurs most often. So if I look at the list, I'm looking for things that are repeated. So I actually have multiple numbers that are repeated in my list, So I want to see if any of them are repeated more than other numbers. Okay, so I have 20s, I have 27s, and I have 29s. Okay, unfortunately, all of those are repeated twice, so there's no one mode. You do have to list them all. So you have 20, 27, and 29. Okay, then we're going to do show B. So same thing, I'm going to go back to my data for show B. I'm now going to look at this set of numbers. I'm going to add them all together. And when I do that this time, I get 312. Remember, there are 12 contestants per show, so this time I'm going to get 26 as my mean. 26 is my mean. Okay, then I'm going to go back and I'm going to find my median. Remember, median is where they're in order, so I'm going to choose the one where it says put in order. I'm going to cross off one on the left, one on the right, okay, until I get to the middle. So this time I'm in between 24 and 25. Remember, you can add those together and divide by 2 to get your median. So this time my median is a 24.5 or 24.5. Okay, and the last thing there is the mode. So mode, remember, is what occurs most often. So I'm looking for things that got repeated. Okay, maybe I don't want all of those little scratch marks on there so that I can see the numbers better. Okay, it's up to you. But I'm looking and I see that 22 is repeated, I see that 25 is repeated, and 27 is repeated. They're all repeated twice, so again, we're going to have multiple modes. I have 22, 25, and 27. Okay, remember that when we are trying to figure out which measure of center is best, we just want to be able to explain our answer. Okay, so I'm looking and I'm trying to figure out which one I think is the middle of the data. Okay, so to me, it does not matter which one you choose as long as you have the correct explanation with it. Okay, so I'm looking and I want to see whether my mean, median, or mode back them up. They're all really similar. Okay, I have numbers that are all very close together. I know my smallest is 19, my biggest is 31. So somewhere in the middle, I would probably say that my median is actually the most accurate representation of my middle. Okay, some people might say it's your mean. Okay, it just might be what is your preference. So make sure you ask your teacher if you have questions over that. Okay, and same thing for show B. You're going to find the one that you think represents the measure of center best and explain. Okay. So example number 2, after the first week, the 25-year-old is voted off show A and the 48-year-old is voted off show B. How does this affect the range of the ages of the remaining contestants on each show? Okay, so for show A, remember that our youngest contestant was 19, our oldest contestant was 31. And it's telling me that the 25-year-old, so someone in the middle, was voted off of this show. Okay, that will not affect my range because remember, range is always the biggest minus the smallest. So since it is neither one of those numbers, it's not going to affect my range. Okay, so it does not affect my range. Show B, my youngest was a 19-year-old. My oldest was a 48-year-old. So this time, it is going to affect my range. Okay, my 48-year-old is being eliminated. They got eliminated from the show, voted off. So the next oldest person on the show is now 32. So instead, I am going from 19 to 32 as my range. So I'm going to take my big number minus my small number, and my new range is now 13. Okay, so much different than the original range. Okay, example 3, data transformation. So the data represents the number of hours students spend studying. What we want to do is just identify our range. Okay, so on this, we already know the mean, median, and mode that's found. These are also in order already. Okay, it goes from 0 to 10. So these are people studying none, no hours. Okay, these are people studying 10 hours. Okay, so these were our mean, median, and mode results here. And we want to find the range. So remember, range is my biggest number minus my smallest number. So this one has a range of 10. Okay, we are going to use this set of data to finish out our notes. So my next question says, if student studies 2 more hours, so each student is studying 2 more hours, find the new mean, median, mode, and range of the data. Okay, so what we're going to do is look at these. Okay, if I were going to add 2 to each of these, this would be 2, 2, 3s. Okay, these are going to be 4s. Here's some 5s, 6s, 7, 11, and 12. Okay, so now there's all my new numbers. Okay, what I want you to do, go ahead and pause the video, is I want you to actually add those numbers together and then divide by how many numbers we have. Okay, so I want you to find your new mean. Okay, the cool thing is our mean is actually 2 more than our old mean. Okay, so our old mean was 3. We added 2 to every data value. So our new mean, hopefully you got in your calculator when you paused it, 5. Okay, so you're adding 2 more hours to each of those measures of central tendency. Okay, so our mean is 5. Our median was originally 2. So if I add 2 to that, I'm going to have a new median of 4. And your mode should now be 3. Okay, hopefully you guys see that too. This is all of those 3s right there. That's our most often. Okay, our range, think about it. Our range, now our biggest number is 12. Our smallest number is 2. So our range is 10, which is the exact same as what we had before. So this one did not change. Okay, so mean, median, and mode, we can just add 2 to each of those. Our range did not change. Okay, now we're going to answer the next question. If the amount each student studies is multiplied by 5, find the new mean, median, mode, and range. So again, I'm going to look at those numbers. I'll write these new values underneath. Okay, we're multiplying by 5, so this one times 5 would get me nothing. Okay, hopefully you guys know 0 times 5 gets me 0 still. Okay, still 0. These are all 5s now. Okay, 2 times 5, these are all 10s. 3 times 5, I have 15. 4 times 5, I have 20. 5 times 5, 25. 9 times 5, 45. 10 times 5, 50. Okay, so there's my new list of numbers. Go ahead, pause the video, and find your new mean. Okay, so hopefully you guys find your new mean and you see that it is 15. Okay, so when we compare that back to the original mean, remember this was a 3. We said multiply all of the data values by 5, and we ended up with 15 as our new mean. So what we're doing is actually taking all of these measures of tendency and we're multiplying by 5. So mean is now 15. Median is now 10. It was originally 2. Mode originally was 1, so 1 times 5 gets me 5. And then range, we're going to look at our biggest number and our smallest number. So this time my biggest number is 50, smallest number is 0. So 50 minus 0. I actually did change my range on this one. Okay, so notice that that one did change. So always do your range on your own. Figure out what those new values would be. because the first one it did not change, the second one it did change. Okay, so we're going to summarize how the values changed. So measures of central tendency